and I'm indeed delighted to be part of this 7th International Convention of ANMI. In the interest of time, I'll keep my remarks short because most of us here are in the markets and on a day-to-day basis are seized with, I think, the challenges that we face as well as the way forward. Global markets over the last 5 years have seen very muted growth. Asia Pac and India definitely have reflected the similar trend. For the first time in 2013, we are seeing some signs of a positive trend in the equity markets. In this context, the topic of this convention, which is around how to sustain investments in a challenged environment, cannot be more relevant. I want to talk of 3 areas or 3 game changers, which I think, again, we have all discussed in various forums, but I want to bring it back to light because this is work in progress. First and foremost, when we talk about sustaining investments or accelerating investments in the market, we talk about it in 2 pillars. One is the investors. How do we widen and deepen the investor base? And second is around what is the channels and the products that we can use to widen and deepen this investor base. And when we talk of the investor base, the domestic institutional investor base, the foreign institutional investor base, and the retail are really the 3 pegs that we continually track and worry about how we can improve their participation in the market. Talking first of the domestic institutional investor base, we have talked often about the potential of the retiral monies and their participation in our markets. As Ashish rightly remarked, unless we are able to channelize savings into risk capital, into the equity capital, the acceleration effect on economic growth cannot be felt in a short term. And let me just put some numbers in context. The Towers Watson conducted a global pension asset study in December 2012. The 13 major global pension markets covered in this study had a total of $30 trillion in assets and accounted for 79% of GDP of these countries. The largest pension markets being US, Japan and UK, with assets of 17 trillion, 3.7 trillion, 2.7 trillion respectively, and their assets as a function of their GDP was significant, and their assets were distributed as 47% in equities, 34% in bonds, and all the rest accounted for less than 20%. Why is this important for us? As against this, in India, pension fund assets are only about 7% of GDP, while the EPF, that is the pension and the provident funds, have nearly 4 lakh crores as corpus as of March 12. None of this flows into the form of risk capital in our markets. Unless we are able to look at retiral monies coming into the market and participating into the market, a large proportion of savings is left out of risk capital and capital creation. The second set of domestic investor category that I want to talk about is funds. In a country as large as ours and with the kind of savings rates that we have, the life cycle of bringing investors into the market can also be accelerated through managed funds, which is active as well as passive managed funds. Active managed funds have not seen much growth over the last few years and have remained challenged in bringing fresh investable funds and savings. On the passive managed instruments, I would like to talk about ETFs as a class that hold promise, whose potential is yet to be fully tapped. As per the WFE data, During 2008 to 2011, when global markets were under stress, ETFs continued to grow as a class with a CAGR of over 10% globally. Americas, of course, have been the biggest constituents of the ETF corpus worldwide. APAC and India are still very, very small in global volumes. The challenge really is that larger the scale, it will result in even greater cost efficiencies, which will have a spin-off effect of bringing more investable funds and savings through this route. Clearly, from a reach-out perspective, a standard, simple, passive managed product like ETF lends itself to a greater mass outreach program than a typical underlying equity.